All right, everybody, we're going to talk about the anatomy of a drone. This will help a lot of people understand when your drone throws an error of what's going on. So we're going to start first by taking this thing apart. This is a Mini 4 Pro. Every mini drone that DJI has released comes apart the same way. So I'll show you how to do that. You're going to need a Phillips head driver, and you might need a T5 Torx bit. That varies from model to model, but I'm not sure if we're going to need it here. So let's get into it and we'll see. So first, you're going to pull the battery out. Every mini drone has the same way to get the cover off. You're going to have 2 screws under the battery and 2 more screws up under the gimbal cover. Those are going to be the screws that release your top cover. And then they also have 2 screws that hold the bottom shell on. This is, again, the same for every DJI drone. So I had those on the back. And if you look back in here under the gimbal, I don't even know if you can see them, but there's 2 more screws. These ones will be much shorter than the ones in the back. All right, so now I'm going to use a pry tool. A lot of these parts, if you're buying parts online, will come with these little plastic pry tools. I actually like them. They're pretty soft, so you're not going to damage your plastic. I like to come here to these back arms and kind of use them as a pry point. You will notice these upper and lower shells on the minis are very fragile. It's very cheap, thin plastic. That's how they keep their weight down. So be very careful. All right, let's get into what we're dealing with here. So this piece on the top is your GPS module. So if you ever have a GPS error, it's not very common for these to go bad. It can be very common for these ribbon cables to get beat up when you wreck your drone or whatever. They're very fragile, these ribbon cables. Let's actually pull this GPS off. Okay, I'm gonna flip this over. I'm not gonna detach that ribbon cable right now. There's no need for me to detach it. So I'm just gonna flip it over on itself. Okay. So what we have here is our DJI calls it a main board. This has all of your DJI FAA regulation stuff built into it, your remote ID. You'll notice everything that ties into this is going to be labeled core. So this main board, if you're speaking to them, they'll refer to this as a main board. If you're an FPV building your own drones, this would be a flight controller. This is the brains of the operation. This is the button you press to turn the drone on and off. Now you can't really see it with the Mini, especially with the Mini 4 Pro, but you've got obviously vision sensors. They connect to your main board here. And then that controls all 4 of these vision sensors. You have downward vision sensors, which are, I believe, this one. Anyways, you've got a lot going on here. You can see the arms, the wires for the arms, they come in obviously 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to route down, and there's a board in here called an ESC. And ESC is the portion of this drone that, one, connects to your battery, and then distributes power to all 4 of the arms depending on your input off of the controller. So the more input to go left, right, there's a board called an ESC. And on these mini series drones, the Mini 3, 4, and 5, they're housed horizontally at the front of the drone. And so they're a little bit more challenging to get to, honestly. This series is probably the most challenging. Let me get some light down there. But you can see there's that yellow sticker down there. That's the back of the ESC. So if you want to pull the ESC, you have 1, 2, 3 screws. Plus you got to pull the bottom shell off. But anyway, I thought this would be helpful to understand. A lot of people get ESC errors. If you have an ESC error, that likely means that you have a bad motor. It's either burned up or you've got a broken arm. If you've got, if you think about, you've got like a vision sensor error and a GPS error. Okay, well, both of those things tie into the main board, so you likely have a main board issue. So just a little anatomy lesson, and hope this helps.